Alright, folks, we're back again now after Christmas and the New Year, and I'm joined tonight by Juliana Sotira again. Say hello.
Hello, how's everybody?
I'm pretty good, and we're joined by Zekin Ivoras, who is one of our guys from Arma Purgatorum. Say hello.
Hello.
And of course, it swapped over the Eve scene there. So it's been a busy Christmas, and as you can see there on the stream, I think pretty much most of the Caldari systems are vulnerable or close to it. Just going to give a wee scroll down there. Yeah, it looks like most of it. So Galante Militia's been quite busy there, Julianus.
Well, it's as everybody knows, it's the pendulum swing. Typically, what happens is that it goes to one side, and it swings back very rapidly to the other direction. So we're seeing that today. Although there was some planning and coordination involved in the timing of it. But yeah.
And of course, one of the big things for Caldari Militia was that we've lost, 100, 200 players and quite a few plexers to the war that's now raging, not far above us actually. But then again, we didn't have them before, so it's the nullsec alliance balance all over again. It happens, we just happen to get them every single time.
Yeah, because of Beta.
Yeah, so second, how's the Christmas kind of faction warfare zone been for you then?
For me, it's been pretty quiet. I took a little bit of a break, during the holidays. I'm sure a lot of people do. I'm starting to get back in the swing. It's good to see, Galente kind of coming back, because I'm starting to see more dudes, in our backyard, our Tempest backyard up towards Hickenham and that sort of area, which for me at least is a better place to get, more measured fights as opposed to diving straight into some more fortressy type places where you may be against 5 or 6, 7 guys at a time.
Yeah, it definitely quietened down on both sides. I think, especially over the last 2 weeks. What about you, Julianus?
Well, we haven't really saw much of a decrease in activity. Just looking at our stats, it's been fairly even throughout all of 2013. Increasing actually towards the end part of 2013 with Test Alliance joining. December saw 2,700 kills from our alliance. November was 3,600. I guess the November period was Test Alliance mostly. Lots of dinosaur kill mails there. So yeah, we just do see a sort of wax and wane of PvP, but for the large part, our roams and gangs have been productive, and we've been getting fights in PvP with you guys, so that's good.
Well, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, getting the fights to PvP. I wound down quite quickly for Christmas. I got a bit annoyed, shall we say?
Oh.
Oh, I know. Just that we missed our opportunity. I was quite vocal about it to some people within. I don't know why that swapped back to the Eve stream. Saying the main seamlessly thing. Yeah, I mean, we missed our chance in it. I guess myself and a couple others put a lot of work into the push, and it was just a bit disheartening to see the opportunity lost.
It does happen on both sides of the war zone. We, for example, had a big push on NES system. What was it, 2 or 3 months ago?
Oh, and that was glorious.
Yeah, that was a really fun time. I think we all enjoyed it. There's lots of PvP, and it was a good fun time. But at the same time, it still failed. Probably just because it's difficult to support a large-scale attack with minimal carrier and jump freighter logistics over a period of 3 weeks or so it was. So really, just runs out of steam eventually. We had about 3 alliances involved on the push directly, so we had a lot of people involved. It was just difficult to maintain that logistics.
See, that was one of the things that at the time we talked about. It was whenever you took Old Man Star and stuff, we had a real problem getting ships all the way out there, and that was one of the things that we says whenever we heard about the Indian push, we says we're not going to let that happen. And actually, for once, we found it really easy to get ships in. Our jump freighter pilots were on the ball. It was actually the Angry Gamers Inc. were handling a majority of the contracts for most of the Caldari militia, and Test Alliance were outsourcing. And actually, recently, we've had a Galante Militia FC and CEO come to us going that we've 6 or 7 contracts that are often backed up for a week here. Would you be interested in helping us out and shipping our ships in for us? And we went. They're
I'm not
like,
sure if well, I mean, it is very good to have people have a successful logistics program. I don't know if I could help directly because that's sort of the sport of faction warfare is that you compete, right?
well, at the end of the way we look at it as a logistics corporation is that if the other side, and as a faction warfare competition, if the other side doesn't have ships, they're not going to undock as often, or they're not going to be as ready to lose their ships. And so, speaking as one of the people involved in the logistics corp and who does the part of the high sec hauling, it's in our interest.
Well, honestly, you guys are the closest to the most gravy train logistics platform in the entire game, aren't you? Right? Like Dodixie for us is 10 jumps. So we have to make like a 10-minute trip each time we want to get a ship from HiSec. Whereas you guys can go to Jita, take a freighter down to Onamon, and then it's 2 jumps to Inia. That's like the easiest possible logistics route.
Yeah, I mean it's still 7 or 8 jumps from Jita down to Inia or to Onamon, which is a wee bit better than Dodixie, I guess. But it's a reach from Inia you can get to anywhere in the war zone in a single jump. And from Onamon likewise, so it's a very handy spot for us to go. Whenever we set up the program, wanted to make sure we could beat Red Frog and Black Frog on prices, and we do every single time.
Okay.
I mean, we charged 25 mil to take stuff into Inia.
Right.
And the same thing from Black Frog. That's from Jita to Inia. The Black Frog would charge you 160 or something like that. It's massive.
So maybe we should have like a chat about low-sec logistics then, like in general, because that is one of the PvP shaping environments that provides both the action and activity in low-sec, but also restricts it. Like that is the challenge, right? Is having logistics flow into low-sec past the gate camps, having ships constructed in the stations, having the modules flown in so you can fit them. That really is the key component to living in low-sec. So, like, I could describe what the general theme of what we do is, and maybe we can look around that if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so mineral compression. By far the biggest component of our logistics activity. Essentially, Bastion modules, 425mm bowgun ones, things like that. They compress minerals about 50 times or more by volume. So a single blockade runner, which is a ship that could be trained maybe in 1 or 2 months, can fly in almost a carrier's worth of minerals. If you want to construct a carrier in low-sec, you could do it with basically 1 blockade runner. So basically manufacture as many battleships, cruisers, battlecruisers, destroyers, frigates as you want out of that cargo. The only remaining component then is the modules. Well, blockade runners are good for modules, but it's still difficult and personnel intensive. So you could still do Black Frog or something else for the modules. Then you just bring in a bunch of the modules. If cost is a problem, Tech 2 modules are expensive still these days because of the Siphon and the Warfare and 0.0. So you could do Meta 3 and Meta 4 modules. That's how we make most of our corporation fittings. Meta 3 modules get about 90% of the effectiveness of a Tech 2 module, but about 1/10 the cost. So essentially you assemble a large stockpile of corporation ships using the compressed minerals from the Bastion modules or the railguns, and then you fit them up with the modules you buy off of buy orders in Jita or Dodixie, fly them in, fit them up, provide them to the membership basically for free. It's almost no cost to manufacture ships and fit them that way. And then you're able to have a successful piece of PvP operation basically set up anywhere in the game. You could do that anywhere in the game with almost no problem in low-sec. In low-sec it's more problematic because of bubble camps and stuff like that. You can't fly blockade runners through warp disruption bubbles still. So, but in low-sec it works brilliantly, and that's what we've mostly maintained our operations through the past couple half year or so maybe.
That's pretty interesting. So would you say you guys do the majority of your hull construction in low-sec?
Yep, absolutely.
I don't think anyone, at least that I know of, does this. That's pretty interesting to me. I mean, the modules make sense, obviously, because you'd only either be able to manufacture Meta Zeros or Tech 2s, but hull production is something that I hadn't really considered. But I mean, you're absolutely right with compression the way it is, and especially when the Bastion modules first came out, and their compression ratio was so much ridiculously higher than 425s. That definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you do a mix because the price or the volume of availability becomes a problem in high-sec systems. If you really want to min-max it and you can optimize your logistical flow and be a super bean counter, you could manufacture the modules from bioorder minerals inside high-sec factory stations. But that takes much more time. Because we're lazy, we just buy the modules for lowest price available or just put bioorders up for the modules. So we snatch them up and save ourselves the pain and agony of having the blueprint copy researched and manufacturing the modules. And then you just use those, melt them down, and assemble thrashers or whatever the hell you want to make out of them, basically. It's just like a very simple shortcut. The Tech 1 ships are the highest volume component of any logistical throughput. If you remove the Tech 1 ships from the throughput, all the remaining space can be used for modules. So you've solved all your logistical problems that way, basically.
You see, I find it interesting as well that you talk about using blockade runners, because we used to use blockade runners, and we now, obviously, like since we were using the jump freighters now, and that's our main way of using it now, because blockade runners we found were, what a jump freighter can move in the same time as a blockade runner is a lot more. It costs a bit more. It costs a bit more, and it's a bigger risk. It's risk versus reward. I mean, a blockade runner's what, 220 mil compared to a 6-7 bill jump freighter plus your sinos and your
and the fuel cost and the every other thing that you have to put into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly convenience because I can basically do that while almost AFK, while replying to emails as an alliance executive, for example. And do that for the corporation, and I just haul courier contracts of lower than 10,000 meters cubed, deliver them to the station, then some other person assembles all the ships for me, using ships that we've constructed inside the station over the past couple of weeks. So you mass produce the ships out of the compressed minerals, hand them to the person that then completes the courier contract for the modules. He pieces those ships together. I reward that person with ISK for going through the button pushing of assembling the ships.
Which is now much easier than it used to be, of course, with the fitting button.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. It's much better. So it saves everybody time, basically. And everybody has free ships. So you end up with a fully stocked combat-ready hangar that can have ECM, logistics, EWAR, DPS, fast tackle, anything you want, really.
Well, I mean,
you just have to think about it in creative ways.
Whenever, see, we buy the hulls as well, and we ship the hulls and all the modules to fit them. We just ship it all down in one go. And I mean, during the battle for India, whenever that was, we were shipping. A jump freighter was bringing 400 or 500 frigates in one go. And that was we were maybe.
I mean, that's absolutely true. That absolutely works. There's no question that still works. It's just if you don't have the jump freighter, or you don't have the jump freighter pilot online,
then you got to work another way. Yeah, because I mean that was one of our problems.
Exactly.
Is during Old Man Star was we had 3 contracts full of ships handed over to the second of our alliance jump freighter pilots, and they were contracted over to him, and he didn't appear for 24 hours. He got them knocked out. We're just like, really?
We still have jump freighter pilots and jump freighter pilot associates that we rely upon for logistics. It's just those are more handled on a case-by-case basis. It's not like every week we haul down 400 ships in jump freighter. It's more like when we need ships, we rebuild them, assemble them inside the corporate hangar, and then do it piece by piece. As you need it, you assemble more. And you rely less on jump freighter availability. You sort of operate on your own time schedule that way. You have the stockpile modules in your secure hangar, and then you have the ship minerals available. You have all the blueprint copies or blueprint originals, and you just pump out things as you need them. It's just more flexible, I think. Keeps the flow consistent instead of relying upon jump freighters having no lives because they have to jump back and forth 15 times a week.
Yeah, it can be annoying.
People
I mean,
burn out from
our
that.
jump freighter pilot does handle 3 or 4 days. Apologies to the stream. Every time I click to reply to you on Twitch, Open Broadcasting Software insists on switching to the scene for Eve, and I can't work out how to stop it. So next time it does it, you're just going to get a black screen for a moment instead, and then it'll flick back as soon as I realise. It's it's just doing it. But I mean, we obviously have bosses, but I mean, we don't do manufacturing. I mean, the manufacturing that's done by most of our guys is just to fill our wallets. Very little manufacturing goes into our wallet. In fact, most of our capital ships are just bought. You know, we've looked into capital ship production, but getting the BPOs and stuff like that's the handling, and while it's easy enough to do, it's
it's just a pain, right?
It's a pain because I mean, the second someone sees an extra large ship assembly array, that boss is going to get hit.
Yeah, and that's a guarantee. In faction warfare space, we have maybe 5 or 6 different alliances that have huge dreadnought fleets.
Yeah.
Able to land on a control tower at any given time and siege it up and reinforce the tower, and then that interrupts your production and interrupts your ability to use the control tower.
Well, I mean, only a week ago, well, not even a week ago, 5 days ago, we had a pause attack in Inia, and we lost 2 chimeras. Well, we lost a chimera and a Thanatos, which were drop bombed by Moroses, and we lost a Moros the week before to Amoros dropped. It was actually Elijah Ghost dropped on it, who appears to be with PL right now.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I guess there's a bat phone there.
Of course I can neither confirm nor deny such a bat phone exists.
Oh, we know it exists. It's obvious it exists. The kill meals is there.
It's more fun to be ambiguous. Anyways, basically, what I've always argued, because I've played the game a long time by now, or at least I think I can say I can. Been playing since 2007, so that's 7 years?
Yeah.
But I've done the whole industry thing. I've done the whole control tower thing. I've done the T2 production. I've done the gas harvesting, ship production, and site control towers. And I've come to the conclusion that mostly not worth it for a PvP-focused organization like a Moira Corporation, or a PvP-focused alliance like GMVA. Essentially, you run into wasting or diverting energy, right? If you're a PvP-focused group, all your energy is pumped into becoming better, learning new tricks of the trade, making new fittings, talking about PvP, having fun, things like that. But if you focus on control towers for 3 hours out of the day,
it stops becoming fun very quickly.
It's like a pinprick in the balloon. It just pops. All the fun just evaporates.
Yeah, I mean, I just got our alliance. I'm now the fuel builder for our alliance bosses, and
poor man. I'm so
but
sorry.
The thing about it is, I purchased in 20 hours enough fuel to do our bosses for 2 weeks. So that's it. They tell me a few days in advance when they need the fuel. I'll build them the fuel, and they then pay me to move it into into the bargain.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, so long as money flows to the people that do the work. And we used to try to do that as well. It's just that,
I mean, the way
we're a fairly tightly knit organization.
Oh, of course.
And by the time we'd finished out all the effort, it never really paid out for us. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I've worked is that I've taken Jita price, 500 or 600 or whatever it is off it, and gone middle of the road between what the production cost and Jita price. So they're saving money. I'm making some money for my time, and it's happy days for everyone. That's the way it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
fair enough.
Like I say, they pay me to move it in afterwards anyway, so I make up the excess in jump freighter profit.
Fair does. I just know I don't have the patience for it anymore. I've clicked enough menus in my life. I prefer to
it's handy enough.
click on targets and blow them up.
I mean, where our POS is situated, let's just say it's exceptionally handy for me to be producing it. But we'll leave it at that.
Fair enough.
What else was? I think that's probably all the logistic stuff, really. I mean.
Yeah, that's about it, really. It's interesting to touch on occasionally because it sort of gives hints to CCP to improve the game in that direction.
Yeah. Hakaran's just asked. Sorry, Hakaran's just asked who are the guys talking. I'm Radomir. I'm Fleet Commander and Director for Arma Purgatorum. Julianus?
Yes, I'm Julianus Soter, Executor of the Valor Accords and Galante Militia Alliance.
And
second?
I'm Zekaniverus. I'm just a regular, terrible guy who's really bad at this game.
That's a lie, and you know it.
Basically, I think I'm terrible also.
Everyone thinks they're terrible. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
it's the worst feeling to lose a ship, and you're always like, well, I should have been more smart. Or I should have not been retarded.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, so the three of us are all in the same faction warfare zone, which is I think good fun. It's good fun to see the same faces. But someone jumped through the gate camp the other day in an Inslok Thrasher, and I was just before the kill meal thing came up. I was just like, I bet you Julian Ellis is going to be on that kill meal, and there you were. I was just like, I knew it was his fleet. And I go, see, the next time we go through that gate, Julian Ellis is their FC probably. It's like, yeah, make sure everyone knows that one.
That was a fun fleet.
There's a lot of.
Were you in a fleet? What was it? Past Thursday or Friday? I can't remember which day it was. It was a big armor cruiser fleet in EHA system on the NES Stargate. You guys brought like 30 to 40 ships, so we brought an armor cruiser fleet, and
no, there's a video. I have a video of that though. I have a video of that. We'll show later if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, basically I was target calling myself horse during that entire engagement. I basically had like, I was on the field. I was actually not primary for the fun of like what 3 months, but it was just insane amount of PvP. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was just a random test fleet not a test fleet, doesn't have test alliance fleet, but us testing more of our armor stuff because we've a lot of we seem to be going down the armor route.
I think I must have misremembered the date. It was a shield fleet inside of EHA. It was like a big shield cruiser blob with MOAs and Caracals and stuff. To
be honest, right, our fleets end up that much of a kitchen sink, whether it's a doctrine or not. I don't think it matters. So, yeah.
Well, just as a hint, scythes would be useful in the shield fleets.
Yeah, they would. I don't know why we prefer still. With shields, the thing is, you don't really need capacitor because most of the time you're going to be flying missile boats. Obviously, with MOAs, you're a bit cap dependent, but they tend to have cap boosters, so it's kind of But definitely with armor fleets, Augurs and Guardians seem to be the way to go. I think Rooks and Kings have shown us that.
Scythes don't do shield, don't do energy transfers. They're independent. So
yeah, exactly. So you lose that with the scythes.
It's like taking a sprinkling of parsley and putting it on the top of the meal. Just sprinkle a couple scythes on top of a fleet, and it becomes a masterpiece. So you just have to sort of like the logistics thing I was mentioning before. Sometimes it's useful to have, in general, in a low-sec corporation or a faction warfare corporation or whatever, is having hand-me-out ships for things like this. You have your pilots trained for the ship fitting, through gentle nudging or persuasion or tyrannical oppression or whatever you want to do. And then you just say, well, okay, fly the scythe. You have 3 people flying scythes. You've now doubled your fleet's effectiveness. So it's a very useful thing just to have on hand.
Yeah, I mean, I know in Armor Purgatorum we issue a logistic. So any T1 or frigate, T1 cruiser or frigate logi, we'll reimburse our pilots for it, and that's our first thing is our logistic reimbursement. Because logi pilots are heroes. They're logi bros, and they're heroes, and they deserve to be I mean, they don't get in kill mails. We both know that.
Yeah, I just sort of like give them money. It's like, thank you for flying logi today. Have 50 million ESC.
It's like fleet boosters as well. Someone sits in a fleet booster. It's like incursions, to tip the booster and stuff like that. I actually had someone tip the FC when I was FCing one day. I was like, I got one to kill me, else you don't need to do that. I'll take it, but
yeah, that doesn't happen in my case. But yeah, it's a fleet composition's an interesting thing in faction warfare and in the low-sec in general. It's tricky, but
yeah,
sometimes you can make it happen pretty easily with a couple key ideas.
Yeah, no, so it's Christmas has been, I mean, I've noticed a lot of Pokos have been reinforced and they've brought a lot of good fights out of it. I mean, I think they've been going both ways as well, the reinforcements, so it's always nice to have a fight outside of a Plex. Because Plexes, you have that inability to warp about. You know where the enemy's coming in. When you're fighting around a Poco or a district, which is something I've noticed a lot recently with the dust changes. When you're fighting around a district, it just becomes a completely different ball game.
Yeah, it's quite fun. So here's an interesting idea. Shall we merge into Rubicon 1.1?
Yeah,
Because
sure. The whole thing
so-
merges anyway. Like,
yeah, we're doing a very smooth segue into the next segment. Rubicon 1.1 changes the new mobile structures. I don't really care that much about the mobile jump.
that's going to be
Device,
useless for
because-
us.
Yeah, it's not too useful for faction warfare pilots. It might be useful for like a high sec war deck or a null sec bubble camp thing where you can instantly jump to the bubble where the hostile pilot's been pulled out of warp and call point on them. Or not, if you so wish. Basically, it just provides you the option of going in or not going in. But in particular, the scan disruptor, I think is going to be remarkably useful. The cost effectiveness of that, it says it's about 5 million S per unit. I think, isn't that right? Is that what they said?
Yeah, it's going to be about 5 million ISK, which is reasonable. I wonder actually if I can actually use the eView now to pull it up on the test server.
So 5 million ISK per disruptor. That's basically cost effective enough to drop it every single fight. Because we get kills of frigates that are 30 million ISK, you get multiple kills, you go easily into 100 to 150 million ISK per engagement. With a serious like 10-man versus 10-man game, sort of small game stuff.
Yeah.
So, there's two options. You can either deploy the mobile scan disruptor inside the Plex as a defensive tool, where they cannot see inside the Plex, and will not be able to engage effectively. Unless, they just blindly walk into it, at which point they'll be ambushed or destroyed or, whatever. Or alternatively, now I just came up with this idea just thinking about it, is what if you have a single frigate warp into the acceleration gate and then deploy it on the outside of the Plex gate? Now think of it this way. If you warp in a fleet of fast frigates, if a person's watching short-range scan,
Yes.
they're not going to be able to see this fleet on the outside.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Hmm.
Oh, I just got heebie-jeebies.
Now, if you still have a human being on the outside of the gate, they'll be able to see them on the overview, right? But you will not be able to camp inside the Plex indefinitely and just, have nothing happen, basically. Because you just warp away if the fleet's too large. You would not be able to see the fleet on the outside. So you'll be left in the dark as well as them. So it'd be like double blind PvP, basically.
Oh, that's gonna be good.
So before we used to think about this as a big hindrance because it would be a very effective defensive tool inside the Plex, but just because you can deploy it on the outside as well, means you could probably deal some very significant damage by blocking their scanners from inside the Plex, like just keeping them blind and in the dark. So now they could still possibly catch you as you exit warp, but really that's very tricky to do. You'd have to time it very well. So it'd be a little bit tricky. And besides, you'd never see you if you're setting up your entire fleet there. They would never see you. They might have the expectation you're still docked at the station, that you're warping somewhere else inside the system. But your entire fleet's actually right there and ready to activate the gate. So
Yeah.
I see that as a possible PvP use.
It would take a lot of coordination though, because the jammer only works for 30k, so you'd have to make sure that when you
Well, it's a
warp to
30k radius, right?
Yeah, 30k, so 60k diameter big bubble on the acceleration gate. So you just have to make sure you land basically right on top of it as you're coming in.
That's like a control tower shield, though, when you think about it. It's like the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's
radius
a
as
fairly big
compression.
radius.
So you just sort of have to
someone's just
everybody
reminded
warp
us.
to 10 kilometer.
Someone's just reminded us that you can still descan and scan down the device, which I think is important to note, that when one of those appears on descan, we're probably going to expect
Right.
something like that. And I think that, because Gavin Goodrich was saying there about a countermeasure, I mean, that is the countermeasure. You know the probe's there, so you know to be more careful. I mean, I warped in last night on a fleet which I warped in an Cursus with 2 friends, and that was fine. I don't have drones on my D-scan. If I had drones on my D-scan, I would have seen 30 drones sitting there, which would have led me to believe that there were 6 Cloaky Tristans parked beside that Incursus, which in fact there was. Jesus Christ, thank you for that.
Yeah,
I
Jesus
tweeted him
Christ came
about
up
that
with
one.
idea.
Yeah, genius.
It's quite funny. It's more of a comedy fleet than anything. That's quite
To be
funny.
fair, if he'd been in our comms, he would have been wetting himself laughing because I warped in. I was like, "Oh, this is curious," and I seen the drones. I went, "Hang on, what are these drones?" And then Tristan's and cocked. I went, "Tristan, don't warp in! It's an ambush!" And the whole comms were pissing themselves laughing at me, and I was like, "What? I didn't expect it."
Nobody expects the Cookie Tristans.
It was a bloody good ambush by him, and I tell you what,
Those-
I am going to be paranoid as
sneaky good ones,
hell now.
Oh, I've never told. I told you my smart bombing Black Ops battleship story before.
No, go for it.
Actually, this is almost directly connected to the mobile scan disruptor that's being released with Rubicon 1.1. So basically, back I think it was 2009, 2010, sometime in early faction and warfare days, when it didn't actually matter if you took a system because you didn't gain anything from it. Basically, I was warping around my Enyo, or actually it's a Thrasher. I was warping around my Thrasher trying to do some flexes and get some PvP. This is an autocannon Thrasher, high DPS, you know. So I was warping around. I saw 2 assault frigates inside a large outpost. A large outpost at that time had, I think it was a large, something like it was a large, and it has the ability to bring in battleships into it. But as the ships were on scan, there's only 2 other people in local chat, so there's obviously the 2 assault frigates were the 2 pilots of local chat, right? Because you see them in directional scan, they're inside the plex, you know, makes sense, right? So I figured, just go in and overheat my weapons, tackle one of them. I could probably kill one of the assault frigates before my Thrasher exploded, and that would be a cost-effective kind of engagement, and it'd probably be pretty fun. So I activate the gate, go into the plex. I don't see any ships on overview. What I did see, after the course of maybe 5 seconds, were a Sin and a Redeemer, and they activated smart bombs. So they killed and potted me in like 5 seconds after I entered the plex. So how they did that was that they abandoned the ships inside the plex as a decoy, and then cloaked up their characters with the Black Ops battleships inside the large outpost. So you were totally expecting one thing, but were provided the horrifying realization that they were flying something much worse.
That's
faction war pipe bomb.
we were.
Except it's using the deception of local chat and directional scan to their advantage because
That's
it's unclear
brilliant.
if it's being piloted or not. Yeah.
Utterly brilliant.
So that sort of taught me a lesson in, yeah.
We've looked into pipe bombing before. We were developing a pipe bombing concept, but the problem was the difference of damage between medium smart bombs and large smart bombs is colossal, and you can't fit the damage needed on cruisers. Because we were looking into that kind of idea, it just didn't work at all. We tried a few different things, it wasn't happening.
It works better with Black Ops battleships.
It does, yeah. It most definitely will work better with Black Ops battleships.
But they probably would have. I don't think I ever saw them ever again. I didn't see those characters ever anywhere else in Faction Warfare. I think they just did it as a one-off joke. But that kind of execution is like, there's still the possibility in EVE Online to do very tricky, very deceptive tactics. And what I think CCP is doing with the mobile scan disruptor, and probably to a lesser extent with the mobile jump device, jump thing, is that it will provide more complex ways of setting up tactics.
See, Gavin saying again, pretty hard to pipe on without bubble mechanics, and as you just said there now, Plex warp-ins, that was what we were going for, was the fleet, just a normal looking fleet hidden inside the Plex, and then in Pews come and pipe bomb to death. It didn't work. Oh, yeah. It really didn't work. It was a disaster.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. There'll be plenty of fun things to think about with the mobile scan disruptor for sure. I'll be very excited to do work with it. The other fun thing is that in faction warfare space, the opposing faction can't necessarily dock in the stations inside the system.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't identify positively the location of every pilot inside that system. So because they may be docked, they may be cloaked, they might be off directional scan at some far safe spot of some kind. So you end up with uncertainty. And as everybody knows, uncertainty in PvP makes PvP quite exciting.
Oh, it does. I mean,
because it provides mystery and a little bit more interesting possibilities trickle through.
well, that's what CCP devs have always said about the game. We give EVE players tools, and EVE players every single time blow our expectations with what they do with those tools. You know, I've seen someone on the Warfare forum there about a week ago complaining that a Care Bear renter in a golem beat off him and his 5 friends solo. And I'm like, he's clearly not a Care Bear if he kicked your ass. It's just like, yeah. I mean, a solo golem just sitting on a gate looking like bait? Come on, that's a good use for it. So it was pretty interesting to see that kind of thing going on, you know.
True. So what about the possibility for just hypothetically speaking, since Rubicon 1.1 isn't out yet, you could, for example, use the 2 new structures in Harmony. Have the mobile scan disruptor and the mobile micro jump device next to each other. The scan disruptor cloaks the jump device from scanners.
Have it sitting 100k above the warp bin.
Yes, exactly.
Jump down on top of them.
So then you jump directly to the new to the target and gain tackle, basically. Now that doesn't really seem to have much use, I think of it, because you'd be able to see them on overview if you walked in or whatever. But it's still, you could probably finagle some interesting tactics out of it. And the fun thing is that these mobile devices are so cheap, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna wave them around like they're nothing, especially
right.
money that we can make.
As long as you have the cargo space for it.
I think the jump inhibitor would be made much more awesome if they made smaller versions of the micro jump drive. So right now, keeping it as a battleship-sized module kind of limits its effectiveness, at least in the faction warfare context, because everyone doesn't necessarily get to use their battleships as much as they'd probably like to.
Yeah, true.
And I might like to see like a medium micro jump drive, like a cruiser-sized one that jumps you 50k.
I think that's why they made the mobile structure for it, so they could compromise to that sort of request. Because I guess the lore idea is that the jump drive is so massive, you can't put it inside of a cruiser. So it's sort of like a big bulky device. You can't tuck inside those smaller ship holes. So maybe that makes sense.
The way I look at it though is if you take a cruiser, it's a lighter mass. Even if you look at the way micro jump drive or micro warp drives and afterburners work, the ships with a lower mass go further. So even if you said let's give it a 75 kilometers as a compromise just for giving it to cruisers, it breaks the trend. It's a lighter ship. Yes, it's going to be a smaller size module, but a smaller size micro warp drive can push a cruiser at a higher rate of acceleration than the battleship. So realistically, you could end up with it.
At the same time, that's true in one regard, but at the same time, you still don't see 47s being powered by nuclear reactors, for example.
No, that's also true. That's true. Nuclear reactor in a Condor.
The 747 is smaller, lighter, cheaper than a nuclear aircraft carrier, right? But the nuclear aircraft carrier is powered by the nuclear reactors, whereas the 747 is powered by standard fossil fuels. Because there is still some minimum requirement. And I guess that's what CCP did, is like, okay, well, the module's a very powerful module for battleships. It can be quite effective in PvP these days. So basically, it's just sort of limiting it from being overused, maybe. Sort of kept as a special flavor module, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's interesting to think.
There's going to be a lot of interesting tactics for both modules, I think. I wonder. I mean, you might nullsecers is definitely going to get most use of micro jump drive. I think that's going to be micro jump driving carriers en masse and stuff like that. And
Dreadnoughts.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. They've already got the Cyno jammer.
They could have an entire chain of them and go from one to the next.
Someone pass that on to Test Alliance.
Well, I just put it to the stream, so hopefully.
They do watch the stream, yeah. There's also someone from PL watching the stream, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that makes the game more fun and more interesting, I'm all for, even if it's somebody else doing it, because I hope that I'm smart enough to adapt it myself, So if I see somebody else doing something, I'll give them, a few claps and try to make the best use of that tactic myself.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's how you've worked. You learn from other players as well as coming up with your own ideas and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So
this scene you have is very Caldari. Where's the Galente one?
Galente 1, this scene was, as anyone who's watched it before will know that Corporal Roddy usually co-hosts with me, but he's unavailable tonight for personal reasons, and so that's fair enough. So I literally just went to the EVE website and grabbed the first screenshot that I thought the gold writing would fit over along, our usual text, and
this is anti-Galente bias, isn't it?
It was like, hang on, I'll go get. I say I'll go get a Galente one, because it'll just switch back over to the EVE screen on me while I'm getting it.
I'm just making it
software, isn't it? I did. Funny enough, we were sitting here before it started. I went, "That's kind of a bit whoops." But then again, let's face it. Look at that Corax in the rogue. It's just an awesome looking screenshot.
The Chimera.
I'm not sure there is Galente one actually.
There is, yeah.
Is there?
Those are the new racial posters that they sold at FanFest. I don't think that they're selling them on the website yet either. But they sold like a huge number of them at FanFest, and they're quite good. I was at FanFest for 2013, and I got to see all the new shiny stuff that they're releasing as merchandise. Very cool stuff.
I would love to go this year, but the problem is Northern Ireland doesn't fly to Iceland, so I have an extra flight to get anywhere. I think they might
take a bus to Dublin.
Maybe. It's even then, it's still outside of my budget. I'm on a student budget still, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's understandable.
I'm
glad that I got a job and stopped being, the student phase and moving into the adult phase.
When I can get to FanFest, I'll be at FanFest. That's the side of it,
Fair enough. Like, the key problem is having student levels of fun while having adult levels of income. That's what I want to make happen in life.
Yeah, my dad said something the other day. I was really into it. He says, when you need the money, you don't have it. When you don't need the money, you've got your house and car set up, you have all the money you need, and it's just like, well, great. Holiday time.
Yeah, it's true. Exactly, it's true. So.
Yeah, seriously, it's one of the closest countries to Iceland, but because never mind.
Can't you just take a boat? Just like rent a ferry or something?
Do you know how long a boat would take to get there?
Only like a couple days.
It takes the shortest boat trip from here to England, Scotland, or Wales is like an hour and a half, 2 hours, with the longest being like half a day. And that's just to go across the pond.
I sit in traffic that much every day.
It takes 2.5 hours to drive across my country from across Northern Ireland,
It takes 3 hours just to drive back to my house.
Yeah, literally 20 minutes, half an hour. It's a long journey for us.
You very short attention bastards.
It's not even that, it's just that everything's within half an hour's drive, tops. I mean, do you think the population of the country is only 1.6 million or something like that? It's easy to see how. It's easy to see how everybody knows everybody here. You can't say something bad against someone without somebody bloody well hearing.
That's fine.
But that's just the way.
I guess that's fair enough. Oh, Iceland's even worse, trust me.
Probably.
Oh damn, FanFest is going to be really fun this year. And if anybody's listening going to FanFest, I'll see you there and possibly buy you a drink, possibly, so.
If I win the lottery, I'll be at FanFest as well, but otherwise, yeah.
Well, it's the natural lottery, just like, put in a ticket each week. FanFest.
Yeah. Anyway, I get kind of more holiday warzone stuff. I think one of the things I've noticed as well over the last while is the FCing between, because with test pulled out, there was a lot of people who would have constantly joined up with test fleets and stuff like that. And so that was that was kind of the first time Caldari Militia properly started working together, because you know yourself, up until that point we bashed each other and we hated each other.
Yeah.
And there's a few people like Can and Hark who I was exceptionally harsh to, and so apologies to you guys for that. I mean, okay, I have a temper when I'm FCing. Okay, I shout at people in their So
it's the Irish temper.
Mainly, I think Hark's got the worst of it at the point. So sorry to him anyway if he's listening, or if anyone knows him, tell him I said sorry. It's the thing. But the one thing I've noticed since Tesla left is that we've been doing it ourselves. Is that
Right.
other fleets from other alliances we've been joining up. We're moving to each other's comms. We're moving to each other's. You know, we're talking.
That's good. That's good
It's like Test Alliance was our therapist, and now it's
Well,
all
it's
happy.
kind of like Brave Newbies. Brave Newbies ideas: undock ships, have fun, get explosions. Basically, that's the same attitude you have to have with faction warfare.
Well, you see,
You
Test
can't take anything in particular too seriously.
Brave Newbies wouldn't piss off from our undock because Test Alliance and Brave Newbies had that deal where they would to organise fleet fights, but Brave Newbies started getting really bossy and started teabagging the Test FCs off the bat because the FCs arranged fights, and I'm like, that's not very fair. So they knew who the FCs were, and like,
Well, Test Alliance would do that to me all the time as well. So.
yeah, but you're an enemy FC. That's allowed. When it's an arranged
Well,
fight
if
between
you're-
Brave Union's training, but it's
It still makes them the enemy, though, isn't it? Like the Alliance tournament, for example.
true,
Just
but you
because
can't.
you're friendly and normal.
Speaking of Alliance
If you
tournament,
blue standings with each other, Alliance tournament, you still shoot each other, right?
no, definitely. I mean, yeah, New Eden's going to be interesting to see what teams come on of that. I really want to make a faction warfare team from the Warzone. So like, just grab some of the best pilots from faction warfare zone and just see what we can come up with.
That'd be interesting. I haven't really read too much into it, but I guess I might do that now.
Well, basically how it stands is you enter your team. You get 70 points for your team. You're allowed one Marauder. You're allowed one logistics ship or T1 cruiser logistics ship. So either or. So basically, it's going to be a lot of
So
Oneroses and Scimitars flying about.
Nice. It's
Do
it's a modification of the Alliance tournament rules then.
Oh yeah, it's pretty close, but it's I think the maximum players is 8. I have to double check, but I think it's 8 something saying 8. Hang on. Actually, I might be able to pull it up in one of my Chrome tab here, which of course is refusing to capture Chrome. So we'll just quickly change the properties from that. There we go. Okay, OBS is refusing to capture the Chrome window, so there we go. New Eden open in March. I'm looking forward to it. I really want to take part in it. I've never done anything like that, so I'm seriously considering taking part in it. It is unfortunately my finals year, so it's kind of my last semester now before my degree, so it's kind of a bit,
Have to actually pay attention to things.
Yeah, apparently.
Coursework and do term papers and things. Yeah, I have a couple mates in the UK that are like terrified that they have to stop being social and like actually have to start working now. It's unfortunate, but it does happen.
Yeah, but
It's good.
It's nice to see the Caldara alliances working together now more. So, but I would love to see a Galante and Caldari display in the New Eden. I think that would be really show people.
That'd be really cool.
That would be really cool because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in the same Warzone and we shout at each other, we rage at each other in local, but at the end of the day, we could fight in local. It's the game, and like you say at FanFest, we'll happily sit down and have a beer with each other if we drink, which I don't. But
or so. But yeah, it's basically we come from the same neck of the woods. It's basically a neighborhood, so it's like almost like a family kind of affair. We know each other so well. We've played against each other for so long. Like some of the Kadara PvPers I've known for years, like longer than I know most of my friends in real life. So
yeah,
you just get to know these personalities very well. You could like memorize their favorite ship fittings, their favorite foods, their ice cream, whatever, and you just sort of know them as a person, even if they're the enemy.
Yeah, I mean, our CEO was chatting to Chakras the other day, and they were saying Chakras was saying we miss you guys over here. I was like, we want you guys back over, move back over here and get away from India. And we're like, yeah. Because we used to have good fights going on between our pub when we were based over out of what was it called? Uzi. Based out of Uzi, we would have been up and down there a lot more often. We would have been a big player over there.
Yeah, like the Galente, for example, are very distributed through both regions, like Essence, Verge Vendor, Placid region. We're very scattered through that, and also Black Rise, of course, the parts of Black Rise that we own. So we sort of have like 4 main bases. As far as I can tell, the Gadar only have 1. Is that true? I'm not sure.
Yes and no. We base out of, obviously, Korea is our high security market, which of course the prices, as I'm sure in your own, is ridiculously overpriced. But
it's better than any high-tech system near us.
Enia is the fortress. You know, it's the kind of thing where it will be a logistical nightmare.
How do you guys live with the warp distances in India?
The warp distance? Oh
Very
my
poorly.
Goodness.
Because that was
as most of the recent fights that we've had involving battleships and battle cruisers over the various PASAs and POCOs in the area can attest, the warp speed changes combined with living in a system that's like 200 days across is very depressing. And you'll get both sides of it. So you're flying in your frigate gangs and interceptor gangs, and you're like, India is smaller than ever. This is amazing. And then everyone's, all right, we're doing battleships. Let's go. And it takes you like 5 minutes to warp. Like I can go, and, do a bio. I can make dinner.
Yeah, go do some laundry, maybe. Hold some laundry because you don't have anything else to do with your time.
Just saying. Actually, why do you think we want EHA so much?
Oh well.
It's nothing to do with wanting EHA as a system. It's just the warp distance.
See, the reason why we moved out of Nanamail, besides, of course, the $500 million rent per month, was the fact that there was an 80 astronomical unit warp distance between Penacasta and Station. Or Hikokan, or whatever the fuck the station is, the Stargate is. And it basically would just take so much time to travel around for PvP. Legally, it's like 1/4 that size, so it's very useful.
We set up our corp in India. It was costing us 30 to 40 mil a month, roughly, for rent. We had to cancel it this month because it was costing us 250, and we were just like, nah, not paying that.
Yeah, that was worse than NML, trust me.
Oh, I no doubt.
Because it's been used as a station hub for longer, so it's basically just become very crowded in offices. It's now basically $500 million or more just to have a dang office there. We had an office there for ages, and we just disbanded it because basically it was not worth the money. So just finding a cheaper system to live in is part of the reason why Galenta Militia sort of spread around. We're very cheap bastards, and we like to keep our money. So we don't want to spend ridiculous fees on expensive offices, usually. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, the geography of factional warfare is very broad, and lots of stuff going on across many different constellations and systems. It does sort of get a bit samey when you go back to India and EHA and just bounce back and forth between the two systems, but that's why we do roams, so we get a little bit more variety into our system name calling.
Yeah, I always love flying to Shih Tzu. Just because, The
EVE Online forums used to censor the Shih Tzu system name.
Do you blame it?
One day when I was like, systems were first released and the factional warfare was kicking into high gear, we had a Shih Tzu liberated thread, or at least we tried to, and we couldn't make the title properly because it was a Shih Tzu that we had conquered.
Yeah, so it was just. It's again one of those things. Like, it's just, there are some names as well that are just impronounceable, and you try and say it, and you're just like, right, you know what? It's like REV, warp to REV, because I'm not pronouncing the bloody name.
I've come up with a pronunciation for almost every system. Like, for example, Unekamon. That's a good system name to practice a couple times.
The best place for system names is Nullsec. Warp X6. Warp whatever. It's just first letter, TAC, second letter.
It's not even a. It's true. Even these days, though, I don't even have to call systems names anymore in a Nullsec because of interceptors.
Oh yeah, they're great. We haven't done a null roam yet with interceptors.
You need to do it. You have to do it. Go to Declan or something, because
you haven't done it, Rad. I did it.
You're with Bomber's Bar, though.
We killed an obelisk with interceptors.
Oh.
Because the obelisk was warping from his control tower to the station, and he bounced off the station. So we were like, derping around the system looking for kills. And we're like, there's an obelisk on scan. The obelisk is on the station, but he's still on scan. Why isn't he docked yet? So I warped my Federation Navy Comet to it because I was doing a faction frigate instead of an interceptor because, I don't follow my own fleet command requests. And the obelisk was like 15 kilometers off the station on dock, like floating aimlessly through space, not pointed in any particular direction. So we get Scram and Webb on the obelisk and just start tickling it to death with interceptors and faction frigates, and we killed it in like 5 minutes. Unfortunately, he was empty. But interceptor rooms are so good. We've gotten like at least 4 billion Eskin kills just from like 2 roams into nullsec with them. So
yeah,
it's
we
quite entertaining.
the last one we took a fleet out one time. There was about 15, 20 of us, and Morgan Tory was FCing, and that was grand. But unfortunately, because we'd gone into goon space and they have jump bridges, there was a slight disadvantage when a 10-man dummy with a couple of T3 showed up against us, and they were sentry sniping fit. So like we were built for close to medium range, and we were just like, no chance we're gonna do.
What ship classes were you flying?
Armor battle cruisers and cruisers for the most part.
That's the problem. It's disadvantageous to use big ships in nullsec.
Well, I mean,
It's
it
more
was
advantageous to
it
use
was
small ones.
it was partially a logi test, and partially we were after something like the dummy fleet, but we didn't expect to have one that big. It wasn't that big, but it was enough that we couldn't fight it, and we got pinned in the jump bridges, and it was
You have to you have to think of it like as an organism. So, like for example, a virus infecting a person. A huge, offensively symptomatic virus will be immediately countered by the immune system, and it will be destroyed quickly. Same thing with nullsec dwellers. They
actually,
sort of
what happened
around
was
a big fleet and engage it immediately.
What happened was where we were, there was a triangle. So what I got the dummy fleet to follow us back. So we went up and down the same pipe 2 or 3 times, and so the dummy fleet knew which way we were going. And so when we got halfway down it, then one of the times, I just turned and went back again because I knew they were at the jump bridge. They were going for the jump bridge to hit us at the other side again, and we got through.
Right. That's when you also have a scan forever for finding wormholes.
Yeah, we had interceptors and frigates with us, but they gradually over time had got whittled down from just as they do somehow. I don't know why. It just seems to be one of those things that they get whittled down quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it.
True,
I've loved seeing interceptors. I mean, the interceptors, they're great for now, but I love seeing them in the war zone. They're just so quick.
They're very fun to play with, yeah.
They're quick. The problem I have, I can't kite. I just can't. I don't get it.
Kiting and nano fighting is really fun. It just takes a lot of practice. Really, that's the only thing that'll make it work is practice. And getting ships exploded and practicing war. Getting ships exploded, practicing war. Frigate combat is by far the hardest skill to learn inside EVE Online as a combat skill. It's entirely based on very sort of like categorized knowledge, like memorizing what a specific enemy ship can do. What it fits it's capable of doing, what top speeds is it capable of doing, the agility, the DPS, the range, all those factors. And then using that knowledge and making a strategy to gain victory in about a 10-second time frame. So pulling all
that part
stuff
really is
together,
the hardest because the margins are so razor thin.
Precisely, yeah.
The tankiest you'll get is I think I have a door up in Curses that once tanked 18,000 DPS, but I got kited to death. So, when you're working with 3 to 7,000 EHP, you really do not have a lot of time to make decisions during the fight.
Oh, absolutely. It almost has to come as instant reflex. It's like, okay, well, this feels right, dude, so I'm gonna do that.
We've a guy
from experience.
We've a guy in our purge who's like, nope, frigate combat is too fast. If it's not cruisers, don't disturb me. And that's his part. He just can't deal with it. No, he can't deal with frigates. He just doesn't want to fly frigates, and that's fair enough.
That's totally fair enough. But at the same time, it's sort of like if he complains about not getting PvP as much, that's part of the reason.
I know.
Is designed to be like this vast guerrilla warfare campaign that's like constantly evolving and struggling between two very dynamically organized sides. And the frigate or the destroyer and those kinds of ships are ideal for that because they're just able to move. They can undock, move, and fight in the period of seconds, whereas the cruiser sort of has to sort of glide into an engagement and sort of regally takes its time as it approaches. It's not quite the same rapid pace warship as the frigate and destroyer are. So
Yeah, it's nice though, because you have to be on your feet. You have to have that quick kind of reaction time.
right. It does sort of cater to that PvP mentality, which is why I enjoy it. It keeps things exciting and new and fresh.
I think,
whereas other types of warfare get very, very old.
I think as an FC, whenever it escalates, and this is kind of a wee bit touching the escalation thing, when it escalates into cruisers and battleships, it's just like, wow, it's like slow motion almost, because everything just takes longer.
Yeah, it's true. It takes longer to form the fleet, it takes longer to undock it, warp it, and you have to give more specific fleet command orders, otherwise people will stumble into the engagement at different times, and they'll deplete manpower and firepower in the fleet. It does... It's like a tempo, right? So like a symphony has a beat, a rhythm to it. Frigates are very staccato, very rapid, very loose in terms of tempo. The battleships are more like dum 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 bum bum, very plodding almost. It's extremely slow. So you have to think about it completely different. You have to turn your thinking upside down and operate on that kind of slower time scale.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to, because we've obviously had a lot of escalation recently, and the war zone seems to be much more prepared to escalate to battleships and battle cruisers these days, as is quite abundantly apparent, in the kill meals that are coming through recently. I mean, we had that fight before Christmas, which we had the video of, and it was funny because the heroes of it were Can's Derptrons, which were insta-tackling Moroses and Archons and stuff as they come out, and he's the video of it, and I said, God, that's fantastic. Like, who thought Derptrons would be so effective? I mean, the DPS on them was negligible to the capital ship. It was probably out-repping it just with its passive, but it was...
Right.
The battleship fleets smacking each other to pieces, and the willingness just to throw capitals into fight. And while it might have been best Korea who threw the bulk of the capitals into the end, seeing the capitals get in there and hammer each other out, and the willingness of Caldari to throw capitals back at them and to keep the battleships and to bring fresh battleships in down the pipe to them, it was good to see. And again,
that's true.
Again, like we touched on as well, the Poco bashes, it's kind of the big guns are coming out a lot more, and iHub bashes, the big guns are coming out a lot more. When we reach one of the old man star region systems for them, iHub went vulnerable, and we the fleet waited and started hitting it, and within seconds there was 5 dreadnoughts on the field with the Sino blocker up. And they hammered it down, and they were gone again as soon as it was done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, they would have just brought out some more 2-3s. Or something like that,
I mean,
so
that's the standard method. I mean, it's a good thing to see. It's people are becoming more bold with their tactics and all that, and that's fine. Like, I can speak for my alliance and say that we sort of still focus on the cruiser battleship kind of warfare. Dreadnoughts aren't really our forte, never have been. And we might go into that at some point, but really it's just sort of something we ponder from afar. Like, we've done the whole nullstick thing, and we used to live in Syndicate region, actually. Basically, there's always a bigger fish. So we learned that lesson very well out in Syndicate region. There's always a bigger fish that wants to eat your capital ships and spit them back up for spit out the bones again.
Talk about living in
particularly in faction warfare.
Yeah, you talk about living in Syndicate. What about J4LP getting their own solve?
I don't know anything about the current politics, honestly. I lived out in Syndicate in like 2008.
Well, it's not out in Syndicate. They were helping test Goonswarm down south, they were taking Harpy fleets down, and they got 2 or 3 systems given to them by Goonswarm as a return for 2 weeks worth of helping them. They're nice systems too. Like, we had a look, they're nice systems.
The thing is, though, of course, is
they're now out of the war zone.
Yeah, that too. It's sort of like just throwing a couple systems here and there. Goonswarm has the largest capital ship fleet. They have the largest manpower. They can just take anything they want, and then they just try to bribe various people. What's a good analogy, historically speaking? It's like Napoleon, conquering all of Europe. He would sort of conquer a nation, and then give one political group nominal power. And so he just would create vassal states as he went through Europe, and sort of trickle some liberties or freedoms or goodwill on various groups of people to keep them happy as he continued plowing forward. Eventually he got to Russia, and of course that didn't quite work as well as he had hoped, so he got his ass kicked eventually. So that'll probably happen with Goonswarm eventually as well. They'll have their Russian winter, possibly.
We'll see. I mean, the thing about it is like Minmatar and Kaldar are Amar war zones taking a plunge. I mean, most of the Amar seem to have rolled over and died. They just one's bailed.
That's a sad situation.
And it is really sad. And Minmatar took, was it 11? I think they took 11 systems in a row. I think it was 14 total in one day.
Yep, we've done that before. It's not enjoyable. Don't do it, guys. You don't have any fun.
But see, the thing is, you joke about it, and you're sitting there with 15, 20 systems vulnerable.
We're not good.
You're not going to do it.
There's no point. There's no point to take them. Literally, no point. It's basically just buffer. It's literally no reason to take the systems.
Oh, that's good. We're not going to have to do IHub defense then.
Well, I mean, yeah, you might take a couple that are strategically viable, but you don't take things in like the Citadel region, for example, which are like the farthest possible distance you can possibly think of. It's like a 15 jump trip.
Yeah, so, it's stupid. They waste time on those,
Precisely. So you just be very, very careful and avoid overstretching yourself, which is a key factor in any strategic campaign. Keeping a fun level high for the players. Keeping people entertained and happy and with things to do, with money in their pockets. That's sort of what we focus on inside the Gunlance Militia. That's why we've been able to sustain ourselves through very withering attacks by various nullsec entities, is that kind of perspective on life.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we're going to start the wrap up here, so if you have any questions from the stream for any of us at all, we'll do our best to answer them. So pretty much anything EVE related is usually how this turns into some kind of free fall. And I'm going to get the prize thing up. I understand that there's probably about a 20-second delay in the stream because this is coming from through the London server, so I'll post it in chat as quickly as possible, the winner, to give you as much time as possible. How prizes work: we'll draw twice.
Do I get a prize?
No, unfortunately. You get a cookie.
Oh, thank you.
We'll draw once for the first faction or pirate frigate, and it's any pirate frigate, including the Astero now, including the Astero, so any pirate frigate. If you don't want the pirate frigate, we'll send you the average E value as well, and we'll draw 2 winners. The only requirement is that you must be following the stream. So if you press follow, you'll get notification whenever we're streaming and we do other things, but it's also just, follow the stream for prizes. It makes sense.
Sounds good.
This is where I can't find the button once again for the prizes, so it's kind of,
Well, it's G-Pirate frigates, right? So we just...
Yeah, but you see, I have an app to do the draw, and I can never remember where the button is, so it's a wee bit... I'm going to have to search for the plugin again. As everyone watches me search for the plugin in the stream, it's ridiculous. So any questions, please throw them out, and Zekin and
Oh,
Julianus will
I
do
have
their
a
best.
question for Zekin.
Oh, go
If
for
we
it.
don't have, if I don't have questions from the group, Zekin, how long have you been playing the game?
I've been playing for a little over a year. So I started playing in October of 2011.
Okay, cool. So that's actually like 2 years then. Like
I meant
2011.
2012. 2012.
Oh,
I'm really bad at math.
no problem. Well, that's cool. Have you been enjoying it so far? Like the whole Kadai Militia thing?
Yeah, it's been great fun. I started out and I joined Eve University. I
Right
actually
now.
moved out to Syndicate pretty soon after I joined up there and lived out the beginning of my Eve career in Syndicate and nullsec PvP and all that. Decided I wanted a bit of a change of scenery, so I decided to join Faction Warfare. And I enjoy low sec PvP better than nullsec PvP.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to do nullsec PvP, I think Syndicate's one of the better places to do it. Especially right now because I mean, Curse has got a lot of big nullsec enemies basing out of there, and
Right.
you know, you can roam for hours in Sovnol and never find anything. But you know, in Syndicate, you're never 5 or 6 jumps away from finding someone to shoot at. So I mean, it's a great place for people who want to get into it.
True. Yeah, Syndicate has lots of fun stuff. The main advantage, of course, being you can dock in the stations, and also get clones inside the Syndicate region for with no problems because this is an NPC region, so it's very handy. You can basically have like a small corporation been to some corner of Syndicate and sort of play around a little bit, and not risk too much money or too much stress over it. It's a good little place to hang out. So it does get a little bit hairy sometimes during the big time zones where there's lots of activity, where you have to like watch out for carrier drops and hot drops and lots of stuff. Oh, are you done with getting your thing set up, Irish?
Hey, yeah, sorry. Typing in can't push to talk at the same time. Yeah. So all you have to type into chat is free ships no space, and that'll enter you into the prize draw. Okay. So go ahead and do that now. And once we get the enough people appearing, we'll get the roll going. And of course, it's on the streams. You can all see who the winner is. It's all there. It's all out in the open. And what'll happen is I'll send you a Twitch mail, and if you then reply to me with your Eve character name, I'll convo you and we'll sort it out from there, okay? And we'll get contracted to you in Jita. Alright? There's only 15 people so far, 17? Of course, we've got a delay, but sure. Come on, people, free ships, if you want to get in on the draw. And again, it's a free pirate frigate of your choice. So Dramiel, Worm, Daredevil, Succubus, Astero. I'm missing one, I can't remember what it is. Meh. I don't think it's important enough. And while you're there, throw out questions as well. So we're going to do the first draw now in about 20 seconds or so. Alright, we'll do the first one now then. So, is that Victor or Victor? I can't tell which. Oh, the missing one's crew. I've been told the missing one. But yeah, I'll send Victor the Twitch mail. So it's Victor, okay. And we'll get the next one rolling.
I'm surprised you forgot the crew.
Oh, you cheeky beggar. Jesus Christ. Can't believe that.
Jesus Christ, you have to give me half the ISK of Bishop because I deserve it.
I think I should take a portion out for blowing up my Condor yesterday with the bloody Tristans. Still can't get over that. Well, I have you on Twitter anyway, but I'll send Victor and Jesus Christ, I'll send you both
Cool.
That's fair enough. So, Jesus Christ, I have a kill meal for you, so I'll probably actually just convo you on the kill meal, or rather my lost meal, never mind a kill meal. So that's all for today, folks, because I didn't see any questions coming out there. I'll send you both Twitch meals anyway, even though I can get you in game, but I'll send you one anyway. If you look below the stream, there is a link to our Twitter. I don't know why it's showing Eve at the moment. Hang on. Yeah, so I've derped. Anyway, Jesus Christ one, but I got confused. Yeah, that's all. Twitter's below. Follow us on Twitter. We post out reports and stuff like that. We kill meals and other banter. Vector, sorry, you asked a question. Go for it. I never saw it. Did anyone see what it is? Preferably someone with the ability to scroll up.
Jules, have you made any efforts to not put people to sleep in your fleets with your monotone? Perhaps like a soundboard or something interesting.
Oh, it's harsh.
Well, my beautiful melodious voice just echoes through all of TeamSpeak and provides endless, captivating sound to everybody in the fleet channel. So obviously that's all they need.
Yep. So soundboards are fun. So follow us on Twitter. There is an in-game channel now, AGI Podcast. Follow us on AGI Podcast, and we will be able to chat through the day in there. And there's information on how to get in touch with our two hosts and the podcast account. There is an AGI Podcast character now. Next week we have Kane Kuchera joining us from Caldari Militia. Some of you will hopefully all have seen him about FCing and deploying and stuff like that. And we also have Mangala Solaris from Red vs Blue, who's one of the organisers for Red vs Blue 100, Red vs Blue Ganked 100, and I think also a member of the CSM. Did I get that right? I hope I got that right. Anyway, that's who's joining us next week, but Twitter will keep you updated, and as well the AGI Podcast channel. So that'll... And Vector says he's Jay McLean, who's now in the AGI Podcast channel, so I'll be able to get him there. So thanks for joining us, folks, and I'll see you all next week. Goodbye. Say goodbye, guys.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.